Day 3, love is the key. I was sitting in the office one Saturday afternoon, and my cousin called me to say that my uncle had just rushed my grandmother to the hospital because she was complaining of chest pains. Everyone headed to check on her. I tell you, it frightened me, and I took off toward the hospital. Now, before I go any further, let me explain that my family is just like any other family. We have disagreements. We sometimes don't like the decisions the other one makes, but we still love each other, even if we don't see eye to eye. At that time, my grandmother and I were at odds because of the decision that I had made, and she wasn't happy about it. Although it was the right decision for me and in God's will for my life, we hadn't spoken for over 9 months. It was one of the hardest things for me to do, not to speak to my grandmother, because up until that point, we spoke every day, multiple times. I was missing her, but I wasn't going to be the one to say, I'm sorry, not this time. I felt like I was right. On the way there, I had so many thoughts in my head like, will she die? Will I be able to talk to her? Will I be able to tell her I loved her one more time? If this is going to be the last time I see her? I prayed all the way to the hospital. I didn't want her to leave me without being able to say I love you. It didn't matter who was right or wrong then. I just wanted my grandmother. When I arrived, they told me that she was okay and I was relieved, but I still had to see her. I asked the nurse if I could go to the room where they were holding her. When I arrived, I saw her pulling the heart monitors off her chest because she was ready to go home. You just gotta know my grandmother to understand. At that moment though, I knew she was all right. I didn't get a chance to tell her I loved her because she was fussing at me as usual, but it didn't bother me. I was glad we were able to take her home and I could lay eyes on her one more time. Since this incident, my grandmother and I have reconciled our relationship. She is one of my best friends, and I learned to let stuff go. It's not that important. The Bible says in all our getting, get understanding. It's okay to agree to disagree. If you haven't spoken to someone or at odds with someone because of a disagreement, or if you feel like you were wronged by someone, man, let it go. Please don't let another day go by without mending the situation, because tomorrow's not promised. Forgiveness is one of the keys to establishing a relationship with Christ. We got to forgive people for their trespasses against us, and they are required to forgive us of our trespasses against them. Jesus' reply to a Pharisee's question is the premise on which we should live our life. When asked the question, which is the greatest commandment in the law? Jesus replied in Matthew 22 verses 37 through 39, love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and the greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love is the key. Make sure you participate by doing your challenge activities and completing your PM reflections every night before you go to bed. If you have any questions about anything, visit Things to Remember.